Hey, it's Jason. I'm here with my 1991 Land Rover Range Rover Classic. This has the 3.9 liter engine, and I'm going to go ahead and do a Seafoam top engine treatment on this vehicle. It's very similar to how I've done all the other ones. I'm just going to show how to do it on a Range Rover Classic, just in case you are interested in doing it. I'm doing this for two reasons. One, I'm going to replace the intake hose because it's really old and ratty, and I'm afraid that it might be getting air in it, which can cause like a vacuum leak issue. It can cause idling issues. And I've noticed sometimes when I start it, the idling isn't exactly what I want. I also replaced the stepper motor, the electronic bit already. And I did probably a poor job cleaning the upper intake. And I'm gonna do a much better job in this video doing it. So first, I'm gonna do the Seafoam top engine treatment to change to clean the upper intake manifold, get any built up carbon out. This is a 31-year-old vehicle roughly, so it definitely could use it. It has about 160,000 miles on it, and I'm hoping that would clear up an issue I have related to idling occasionally, and at the very least it needs it anyway. So once that is done, I'll show how to replace the actual intake hose, which is a breeze. Two different videos because people might have two different purposes. The purpose of all my videos isn't to probably show you how to do something. You could probably read this bottle and figure it out. It's just to let you watch me do it so you know what you're getting into before you actually embark on the project. And perhaps it might validate what you know, but for some people, it might actually teach them how to do it. So I appreciate you tuning in, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to do this top engine treatment, the first thing you're going to want to do is just understand what you're working with. This is the air filter. Air comes in, it goes through here. This is the mass airflow sensor. It's very expensive. You do not want to damage this, and you do not want to get this hit with Seafoam. And then it goes into the little intake hose here, and then that bends around and goes into the actual top engine, right? So in a perfect world, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get that Seafoam inserted past the mass airflow sensor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put it in right here, and then you're retighten this hose up, and then you're going to rev the engine and disperse it all into the top engine. So you just want to take a Phillips head screwdriver and just go ahead and loosen up this hose enough to actually get it off. Whenever you're doing this, make sure you know what you're unscrewing. Make sure you know how it goes back, and just be gentle when you pull it off. So let me go ahead and pull this off. Now in my situation, it almost seems like this is like melted on it. I mean, it's so tight. So I'm going to loosen it from here, lift that up, and then attempt to pull it off. But I have no idea why this is so tight. It seems like it's almost glued on. So I'm going to try to figure out how to get this pulled off without messing anything up. I'm going to be replacing this whole hose because it's so tattered, but I need to get this off to do the treatment. I don't want to do the treatment with the new hose. Okay, so I got this off, and boy, it was really on there. It goes on and off much easier now, but it's like just years of it being on there. I'm going to replace this. For the sake of this video, I'm going to keep it on for the cleaning and then swap it and replace it completely. What I've noticed, the throttle body is really gunged up in there. And what I mean is specifically the valve that would open and shut when you give it acceleration. So what you're looking at here is when you press the gas pedal, this is the throttle, it opens up that valve and it determines how much air to come in to actually, let the engine do its thing. You need air, you need spark for combustion, and obviously fuel for the engine to go. If you have too much air, or air is getting into a hole, it could cause its own set of issues. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm seafoaming, before I seafoam, I'm going to use this CRC throttle body air intake cleaner. And you're basically going to want to just go in here and spray. And I use a little toothbrush as well to get in and actually scrub, and then use a towel to wipe everything out. And then you'll want to open up the valve and get in there with the toothbrush and spray. I'm going to attempt to show you how I'm doing that. Just a few squirts. You don't need to get crazy squirting everything. Okay, this is probably going to be hard to see, but I'll do different angles. I've put some paper towels down here. I have a toothbrush that I use, and you're just going to want to get in here and spray it. You don't need to go crazy. But then you're going to want to do some brushing in the actual intake manifold. And you're going to want to open up that throttle and really get in there. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Because what happens is that plate will stick. And if it sticks, you got issues. And you don't want that. It's going to cause idling issues and all kinds of other stuff. This is just routine maintenance. I'm going to shut the throttle. I'm taking a piece of paper towel. I'm opening the throttle up again. And you can see that carbon coming out. That's exactly what you want. You want to get that nice and clean. Now, on newer cars, you wouldn't want to open up the throttle like this because it could cause you to have to do a reset procedure. But on these older cars, I never have an issue with it. But that's a lot of gunk in there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to film as I do this completely, but I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of this, and then I'll show what it looks like when I'm done. And then we'll go to the next step, which is actually the seafoam. Okay, so I cleaned in there, and I think you can see that it's much cleaner than it was. I did notice while I was under here, this is missing a hose clamp. So I'm going to go ahead and put a metal one on it. It should have one. And now I'm in a position where I can begin to seafoam, which means I'm going to have to put the intake hose back on, because I'm going to put the seafoam up on this side with the pipe going in. Because if I put it here, I sometimes feel like it's a little too close to the little butterfly that opens up in there, and we don't want that. I also forgot to note, I typically try to do this on somewhat of a slope, so the Land Rover is sloped just a little bit, so as I was spraying that CRC in there, it wasn't just soaking into the engine manifold, it was actually coming out and giving me enough to clean with. So let me go ahead and get the seafoam treatment hooked up now that we cleaned that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I have the seafoam hooked up, and just to kind of give you an idea, it's going to go in the hose and you're going to inject it like that. So this will go in and then it will get really close to the throttle plate. So the throttle plate is right there. It's going to be maybe an inch or two away from it. You didn't want to do it here because you could see what would happen. It would go way too far in and it would prohibit that throttle plate from closing. I am going to put the old hose back on. It's just going to slide there. And this is why I'm replacing it, because it's so tattered. You don't need all of that nonsense. And then I'm going to insert this in, and you're going to basically put this hose right back on so everything would function. See how I have that in there? I have the hose up where it needs to be. Let me just move this up a little bit farther so it's straight. I don't like where that's positioned, so let me move it out. It's probably easier to do it without the can. So that's what you're looking for right there, okay? Now, I'm not going to tighten this hose back up. I think it's on there pretty snug. I'm only going to go about what it calls to go 2,000 RPM. So I don't need to worry about going too fast. And then once I get the vehicle going 2,000 RPM, I'm just going to unload this in it. I'm going to literally just stand here and just let it all go in. My little trick, I'll shut the hood, and the hood will, see, it's depressing in there, the hood will depress it in there for me. And I usually would take a piece of wood and put on top just to make it nice and easy. So let me show you how I'm going to get the car to the RPMs that I need. Alright, so the vehicle's idling. It's idling at, I don't know, 1300 RPM or so. You're going to want to get it to 2000 when you do the Seafoam, and 2000 just to give you a sense of what that's like. That's right about where you're going to want it. So the way I do that is I'm going to put, I have the emergency brake to the extent it can be latched. I have the wheels chalked or choked, I guess, and I'm going to go ahead and use this, and then I'm going to push the seat forward to hold it at 2000 RPMs. So right now I'm at 2000 RPMs. Good thing I had working electric seats, and you can see the RPMs are at 2000. So I can go to the vehicle, hook up the Seafoam, and I can go ahead and begin inserting it at 2000 RPMs. So right now, I'm physically spraying this in. And you're going to want to depress this entire can into the vehicle. So since it's just me doing this project, I like to be able to monitor the RPMs, and I like to be able to see if there's any smoke coming out the back from the Seafoam doing its job. So I just take a piece of wood, and I just do that. And I just make sure that that intake hose stays on. And I can see that my intake hose is on okay, and it's compressing or depressing it down. And then I just go to the back and just see, am I getting any fumes or anything out the back? And it doesn't look like I am. But occasionally, I like to go a little bit higher than 2000 RPM. So I'll get in there like so. And that's where, no doubt, you start to really see that stuff doing its magic. Okay, so I've used the entire bottle. It's pretty much empty. There's a little bit in it, but hardly any, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, because of the 12 ounces, I probably used 11.8 ounces. And I definitely noticed some smoke coming out as I was doing it on this specific vehicle. The check engine light came on, which that was occasionally coming on because of an idling issue. And I began doing this hoping to fix it. So I'll go ahead and to reset that, just disconnect the battery. And the next step you're going to want to do is take the vehicle on a really nice wide open throttle drive. You're going to see some clouds of smoke coming from behind, but overall that is the process I did to Seafoam my 1991 Land Rover Range Rover Classic. I am going to replace that intake hose, which I'll make as a separate video, so if somebody wants to do that. So to recap, I used the CRC manifold cleaner. I cleaned it. I opened up the throttle body valve or the butterfly and cleaned it really nice with a toothbrush and paper towels. And then I used a bottle of Seafoam. I let the engine run as it was going between 2,000 and 2,400 RPM. And then occasionally I gave it a lot of gas to really work that in and get all that carbon out. I noticed a lot of smoke coming out, a lot of the white cloud, which is what you want to see because it gets those harmful deposits from the areas of the engine out. So thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out my blog, www.jams.net, for more Land Rovers, DIY, and other adventures. Have a great day.